On today's Minute of the Apes, do not forget to make your plans for Free Comic Book Day tomorrow at ZeusComics.com.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd, and I am doing the old school way of managing audio because Gertie is down there loving on some kind of treat, and all I could hear was
weird, like, wet vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, and so I actually rolled the volume down on each of us just so that you didn't have to hear that during the opening. But Gertie, say hello to the people.
She's just licking up Kong spray from inside of a cow's hoof.
That is just lovely.
A sentence never before uttered.
No, I don't think it was. And, you know, things that were never uttered before is, man, I'm looking forward to this minute of credits. But here we are at minute 115. Let's get to it so we can move along on this Friday. Sean, 115, where do we start and where do we end?
We start minute 115 with a supervising art director, John Deter, and ends with Maintenance Doug Stewart.
All right, here it comes, 115. There is John Deter.
And here comes the new music.
Oh, that's
funky
right.
Music. Hey, storyboard artist is Michael
I
Jackson.
feel like I need to be doing my snatches.
Stop that.
Hey, clean it before you jerk it, all right?
We got the gang boss while I'm doing my snatches. Second assistant of directors, we got Sunday Stevens. Man, there were a couple of those.
Sunday, bloody Sunday.
I'm just gonna shout out people's names.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's
Carl Fisher on the boom.
Hey, David E. Saltzman.
Hey,
what's
cable
going on?
person, Rocky. Rocky was my cable person.
hey, there's Pete Romano, one of my college roommates. A terrible breath.
Wow.
Yeah.
gotta
Ashley
see how many
Sudge
they went.
was the dolly grip. Ashley, you did a hell of a job.
Chief lighting technician Jack English. Good lay.
Mr. Wahlberg's dresser, Lisa A. Doyle.
Hey, cutter fitter, Diana Pushala. You do
And
your-
there's the end of the minute.
There you go.
We end kind of on our dance mix. Did anybody want to get up and dance? Did you feel the house music?
It's a monkey rave.
That is Abby always trying to go, okay, but Dad, house music's actually kind of good. I'm like, no.
We need to insert the. Never mind. I can't even think of the movie name right now. Matrix. That weird
yeah.
Matrix
The
rave
sequel?
Yeah.
scene from the second
the
one.
second one?
Yeah. Dun 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 dun. All the apes just gyrating.
I just read something the other day, and I'm not a Quentin Tarantino fan, but, you know, he wrote that book about cinema and all that, and he was talking about how he loved the original Matrix, and he said, I've never witnessed two films that can make me hate the original. He's like, the second two are some of the worst films ever made. And I thought, why do you feel a need to put down other people's work? I don't like those films either. But Tarantino being as big as he is, why does he feel the need to put other people down like that?
All right. Well, and that's just, us talking about a podcast, trying to break down critically talk about movies is one thing. For other actors to say, hey, that actor's performance in the movie was shit is like, why would you say that?
That's what I was like, dude, that's throwing some really bad karma out
To
in the
people
world.
you may work with at some
Right,
point.
Yeah.
right. There are a lot of people that worked on that did good work. It's just that the stories weren't cohesive. And is it Warshawski? Is that how you say the last?
Wachowskis,
Yeah.
Speed Racer came out. I know you and I saw that in the theater again.
Yeah, I did not
I
care
used to think at least visually it was interesting. It is such a a chaotic.
It's too much for me. It was too much for me. It was that Speed Racer movie was like a starburst exploded in a blender and like
Yeah.
dripped
Sprinkled
all
with
over.
cocaine.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot.
It's funny because when you watch it, you start thinking, what is it that's going on and not working? Should I take some of these expository moments out and put more pizzazz and race in? Though what I actually thought was, no, take some of the chaos out and keep more expository.
They tried to make it so much like a cartoon that it just didn't work, because there are things that work in a cartoon that don't work in reality. That's why, like, all these live action remakes of Disney movies just Lion King doesn't work because
I never watched
as a cartoon, you can make them expressive and stuff. But if you're trying to make it real, then you don't make expressive animals. You just have an animal talking.
Peter Pan growing up was easily one of my favorite stories, and I tried the other day to watch the new one. And
The one that came out on Disney?
Yeah, this is directed by the guy that made The Green Knight, which could be divisive as far as what people think, but it's beautifully done. It's really makes you think. And I was so damn bored with this Peter Pan that when the magic occurred, I was like, well,
I just like much like Pinocchio and everything. I mean, maybe we're getting in between, but I don't understand. Is there like a real big call for a remake of Peter Pan right now? Is there a real big call for a remake of Pinocchio? Is there a real big call?
Well, yeah,
I mean,
the audiences are younger and they're not necessarily watching the classics, and so you need to kind of move them in the classic animated films. So you need to kind of move them into modern stories, modern storytelling,
right.
And that's what the hope is. The hope is to recapture the stories and keep those properties going.
Well, I think to that point, and I'm glad that we've kind of dovetailed this into Planet of the Apes.
True.
Why do you feel the need to remake this film at this time? I think that the reason the original works, again, is because you tapped into the paranoia of race relations that was going on at the time, as well as nuclear holocaust. You tapped into a couple of really hot-button issues that people were receptive to the ideas and maybe opened their mind to thinking about some things. I don't think that this film at that time, this is pre 9/11, correct? Is that when it came out?
2000.
yeah.
Okay, so you don't have the destruction of our safety feels in peril. You don't. What were we going through at that point that you could have touched on? Because this doesn't feel like you're trying to say anything different. And I think to that point, when you bring out a new Peter Pan, you can remake that if you can say, you know what's really important in the world right now is this is going on, and I think we need some of that. Mm-hmm. It's what Lucas did with A New Hope. He knew at that time with Watergate went on, and he takes a lot of that governmental thing, gives it to the Empire, but children need hope. And so he tells a story that goes to that time. I don't know what the fuck this story is and what it's meant to give me.
This was only about 6 or 7 weeks before 9/11.
Well,
July 27th, 2001.
One of the things that I found when I was trying to do research about this was you can't get a straight answer as to why there was no sequel. Mm-hmm. There's no, hey, we're not doing it because of this, but you can read between the lines. Marky Mark came back and said it was a scheduling thing, which is usually actor speak for they don't want to do it. The film went on to gross $180 million in North America and 182 in foreign countries, with a cumulative total of $362 million on a $100 million budget.
That's not a whole lot when you think about it.
No, and by today's math, that would have been a flop.
Yeah,
because nowadays,
if you're not hitting $500 million real quick, yeah.
So it's a 4-to-1 return on investment, but you're also not taking in marketing and things like that. Then when you start getting into the critical analysis, there were 153 reviews collected by Rotten Tomatoes. 45% of the critics enjoyed it. The top critics poll only had a 32% rating. By comparison, Metacritic collected an average score of 50, receiving 34 reviews. Roger Ebert praised the ending, but felt the film did not have a balanced story structure. The movie's great looking. Rick Baker makeup is convincing even in extreme close-ups, and the apes sparkle with personality and presence. The sets and locations give us a proper sense of alien awe, Ebert continued. Tim Burton made a film that's respectful to the original and respectful in itself, but that's not enough. 10 years from now, it'll be the 1968 version that people are still renting.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone also gave it a mixed review. Call it a letdown worsened by the forces of shoddy screenwriting. To quote Heston in both films, damn them all. I think that it's no different than, when you go into a property that you like, you look for the hope that you're going to find something. I know that first time Sean and I saw Phantom Menace, we got to go through work. Somebody got us a charity screening. It was a few days early, and I remember that we were like, "Hey, that was fun."
And then afterward, you went, and then the problem is we had already bought tickets for when it opened, and we had bought tickets for the whole day. So
yeah, we were going to watch it
back to back, like 5 times in a row or something like that. So we knew what we were getting into.
By the second time, and when it got to that scene of Qui-Gon at the dinner table snatching Jar Jar's tongue,
there was lots of sleeping.
Oh, I was completely, yeah. But, this film evokes some things. Talking apes.
Humans.
That's it.
Humans being
I
subjugated.
just stopped right there.
And you really get down to, what is it giving me? Why am I compelled with this? And I feel like I'm almost here making excuses for it.
Quit making excuses for it.
I think that at least when they get to this new one, and I think it somehow ends up being weirdly prescient to what we end up going through today in this, kind of culture that we have, they had something to say. And I'm hoping with the new films they're doing, they have something to say. That's important.
Let's put it this way. It's April 30th today. There is a writer's strike looming that will happen at the beginning of May. Do you know?
I don't.
So.
I've not heard.
I think it's next week if it's going to happen, which could potentially change movies that come out in the next 2 years because of this. So,
except it won't affect this Planet of the Apes because they've already shot.
No. I'm not talking about. I'm just talking about movies in general.
Yes.
So what I'm saying, in the next year and a half, we could be seeing movies that are kind of in this same Planet of the Apes things where they were in the middle of production and then a writer's strike happened,
right.
And so. Who knows? Maybe this movie would have been better if they could have worked on it more.
Oh, I think without question, if you'd not had these issues where it was cobbled together with numerous directors before, it's in constant redevelopment hell. I think that going to the writer's strike, one thing I've read about that too is that they actually think that the writers actually have a little
leverage
because of this media culture as it is. That if you shut that down, those companies are fucked.
Yeah.
So they have that on their side. But I think to your point, you're absolutely right. You could be looking at a whole bevy of things where it's
Weird
just a
movies,
cobbled together
yeah.
mess of shit. Where they start trying to, we already have
They're
this locked in
up
and
as
I can
fast
do
as they
this and
can,
get it
yeah.
done and get things in the process.
Like James Gunn has said, he's stepping away from Superman script that he's writing. If the strike happens, yeah, he's not going to be working on it.
Well, good on him. Has anybody got anything else? Hey, we got 12 minutes out of that minute, so yay. Okay, that is Friday in the Book. We'll be back tomorrow. Do we have any idea what In Between is going to be about tomorrow?
Yeah, I've got some stuff.
Okay, we've got things. We'll come back and talk to you about it then. Everyone, have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.